Welcome to Lawyers in the House with Motley. Wish you had a lawyer in the family? Now you do. Here's your host, Veronica Waters.
Hey, welcome to Lawyers in the House with Motley. I'm your host, Veronica Waters. So happy to have you back with us here for another episode of Lawyers in the House, because this is a very special, sort of groundbreaking episode. We're going to take you into a new realm today. Usually here on Lawyers in the House, you're hearing from the actual lawyers, the attorneys who take us behind the scenes and give you a little look at the information that you need, the guidance that you'll get, and how important it is to have an advocate on your side when you've been hurt, and what that process is like to get justice for you. But today, we're going to take it from a different perspective, and let's call it more of the personal side of personal injury law. We're going to be talking to someone who's been on the other side of that accident, who actually teamed up with Motley's injury attorneys to get justice for herself and her family and to move forward in health. Welcome to Lawyers in the House. My two special guests today. Michelle Mumpower is the first one. You know her. She's a repeat guest. You know, I could not stop saying Mumpower when I say her name for some reason. Please forgive me, everyone, because, you know, I'm just addicted to her name. Michelle is a mom of two. Mm-hmm. She has been an attorney since
2016
and has been with Motley for
last 4 or 5 years.
About the last 4 or 5 years. And one of the things that is so cool about Michelle is that, unlike some of the other lawyers that we've had here, Michelle didn't get into the legal field knowing that that's what she wanted to do.
No, I didn't. I actually have a bachelor's in biochemistry and a minor in genetics, and started out doing pharmaceutical research because I knew I wanted to make a difference and help people. And our company just stopped getting funding one day and were bought out. And I decided, well, I'm not going to med school. So,
which you could have.
Yeah, I could have. But I decided that wasn't the route I wanted to go. Started working for a law firm while I was in college and decided, okay, I'll give this, law school thing a try.
I can do
love
this.
it. Yeah, I do.
What
I really
was it
do.
that appealed to you? It is very different from the sciences.
More so like you said, the personal aspect of what we do, actually feeling like I'm making a difference in people's lives who need it. And just being able to be there for people in, some of their most difficult times.
I want to talk about those difficult times today with your friend and one-time client, Javonda. Javonda was a young mom in her late 20s a few years ago when she found herself in a situation she probably never could have imagined. But before we get into Javonda's story, I got to say, tell me about you, Miss Beautiful Javonda, with this gorgeous hair cascading all down your back and this amazing smile. You are, who are you? Tell me who you are.
I'm a mom of 3, 2 boys, 1 girl, and a wife. I'm actually a stay-at-home mom. I'm actually about to get out of staying at home.
Are you
not
really?
What it's cracked up to be. Not at all. And I enjoy taking care of my family.
Yeah. You are, it sounds like you're a caregiver.
Yes.
You're just a giver at all times. Have you always been that way?
Always.
It's been would you say that's a hallmark of your personality?
Yeah, it trickles down from my mom, grandma. It runs in the family. We're all somewhat the same. I guess you would say not savers, but we're always trying to look out for everyone.
I love that. I love that. And finally, you had somebody looking out for you in this situation. And we're going to talk about that today. This is Lawyers in the House with Motley here on WSB. When your life changes in the blink of an eye, when you're out running your errands and suddenly you wake up in a hospital bed and all you can see in your immediate future are medical treatments and recovering from intense pain from an accident that was no fault of your own, to whom do you turn in those moments? You guessed, Javonda turned to Motley Injury Attorneys, and Michelle Mumpower was her lawyer. Ladies, thank you so much for being in the house. Let's get into it. Javonda, first I have to say, you look amazing.
Thank you.
Are you okay today?
Yes, I would say I'm fine, other than My ankle a little bit, but for the most part, I'm in good health.
Your ankle is
Has screws.
your ankle has screws,
Mm.
so you can't go through a metal detector at the airport without setting off the beep.
I actually did. It didn't go off. I was surprised. I was, but it went off when I went to a concert one time, and I was wondering. I'm like, maybe that's what it is.
You know what? It might be calibrated for extra sensitivity in case somebody was like wearing a weapon or something. You know, look at you. You're like a bionic woman. Here you are. So it's funny because to sort of delve into it, when I first met Javonda, I was asking her what it was like getting back in a car the first time after her accident. And she said, what did you tell me?
It wasn't anything. I mean, it didn't affect me as far as the car because I didn't see anything, so I wasn't scared. The only thing I can say, I was nervous to go back to that Walmart. But other than that, no memory, so it was fine for me. It was like riding a bike.
Because it was outside that store where
Yeah,
the
it was
accident
Walmart.
happened.
Mhm.
All right, let's turn back the clock to this happened in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
So, Michelle, give us an overview of what happened. Paint a picture for us of what happened to Javonda.
So we received a call from her mom that Javonda was at the hospital and unfortunately been involved in a significant accident. And at that point, the only thing we had been told is that she was hit by a vehicle and ejected from the windshield. And that's really all the information we had until we actually were able to delve in and do our own investigation.
When something comes to you like that, when that call comes to you, what's the first thing that you do?
Really just kind of take a step back, understand what's going on, and try and make contact in that relationship with our clients. And at that time, it was your mom had called in. I believe your dad also had called in. I met with them a few times. And then, I always tell clients who are in this position, when they're able to speak with me, I want to make sure that they're okay and everything is they're alive. I can speak with them. They understand what's going on, and then we can go from there. So that was really kind of a great thing to be able to do when we were able to take an investigator and go meet Javonda at her house, at your mom's house, and really, kind of, I think that's the first thing you had remembered about what was going on.
And how long after the accident was that?
It was probably
A couple months or a month or so after, maybe.
I believe it was a month.
Yeah, it wasn't right away because you were in Grady for some time.
Yeah.
And then it was trying to get little pieces back of her memory to kind of understand. Because that's really what I wanted, to do is make sure, is my client okay? Are they in a position of, are they going to be okay? And can we get them to that position that they're going to be, safe and alive? And in this situation, it was more so just giving her the time that she needed to see what she could remember.
Tell me now what you remember, Javonda.
I remember getting the keys made. I remember getting the keys made. I remember getting in the car.
So you went to the store to get some keys?
Yeah, because I was, and at that same time, I had just, one of my grandfather's properties had become available, and he had let me move in there. So I had to go get keys made. So I remember getting in the car, and that's it. I remember waking up at Grady and feeling like glass was in my eye. That was about it. I remember hearing people crying. I'm like, what is going on? My mom was like, that's I think it was my boyfriend's mom at the time. She's like, I was like, tell her I'm okay. I'm gonna be okay. I didn't know what was going on at the moment. I didn't know my neck was broken and my ankle was broken, but I'm like, I'm gonna be okay.
So you felt like you had glass in your eye.
Yeah, I had glass everywhere. Even months after, because couldn't do anything to my hair, but I remember a huge bald spot on the side of my head. The skin scraped off, and I remember just messing with the scab and glass just falling out of my hair. It was everywhere.
Oh my God! And did you actually have glass in your eyes?
They say I didn't, but I know I felt something.
Wow,
I couldn't open my eyes.
It's terrifying to hear that you went sailing through the windshield.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't remember any of that, right?
Nope. Thank you, Lord.
You just woke up, and the next thing you knew, you were in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
So you felt okay in those initial seconds or minutes?
At the hospital, I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah, I felt okay. After when I got home, I guess after the medicine and all that wore off, it was on.
How did you end up? I'm might be skipping a step here, but how did you end up talking to Montlick in the first place? How did you end up calling them?
My mom, she reached out to Montlick. I think she called a couple other law firms, but then she ended up deciding to go with Montlick.
Now, all of this time, and you said this was like a month apart, right?
Mm-hmm.
A month after the accident. How much in those 4 weeks do you remember? And how much in that time did you start remembering what had happened, if anything?
It took a good while to remember. It took months. It took months.
And what had happened to Javonda Michelle?
So her case was a very, complicated case. It wasn't just a simple, I was rear-ended or, someone ran a red light. The way this incident started was an individual's car was stolen. That individual's car that was stolen decided that he was going to jump into another car and chase the drunk driver that had stolen his vehicle. From point A to point B, at some point, an officer joined. And then the individual that had started the chase, whose vehicle was stolen, had kind of let off the gas and stayed behind the chase the entire time. And at this point, the drunk driver had run a red light, and Javonda was turning left out of a Walmart parking lot when she was T-boned. Right after that had happened, the officer that was engaged in the chase pulled up to the scene, as well as the individual whose car was stolen was there. But her vehicle was severely impacted by the drunk driver that had stolen the vehicle and kind of put everything into motion.
Were you alone when that happened?
No, I was with my sons. Mind you, my youngest had just had a birthday the day before, so we were supposed to go see Black Panther.
It was a typical day for you.
Mm-hmm.
Good weather?
Yeah. Nothing out of the ordinary.
Nothing out of the ordinary except a drunk driver decides to steal a car and ends up victimizing a young mom and her 2 sons. Quickly, were your sons injured in the accident?
Jaden was. Austin, he was so little at the time, he couldn't speak. So he was only 2. He couldn't say. But Jaden, he was. I think it was his finger, and he told me his knee.
Wow. And thankfully, despite the injuries, everyone survived. We're going to talk next a little bit about those early days and how Michelle Mumpower took on Javonda's case and navigated it through the legal system. We'll hear from Javonda how she felt about Michelle in those early days, too. This is Lawyers in the House with Montlick. Stay with us. Welcome back to Lawyers in the House with Montlick. I'm your host, Veronica Waters, here with attorney Michelle Mumpower and her client and now friend, Javonda, who is talking to us about surviving a personal injury and what it was like to come out on the other side. I am so curious to know how this friendship that I see that is so evident between the two of you actually began, because I wonder how many clients and attorneys actually stay in touch, let alone become friends after something like this. So can I ask you guys to tell me a little bit about that? First, Javonda, your first impressions of Michelle.
My first impression of Michelle, she was amazing at her job. She always called and let me know what was next. I never had to, I never called unless I think I called maybe like once or twice to ask a question here or there. But for the most part, she always just let me know what was going on from every step. So she was very, what's the word I'm looking for?
Responsive, communicative?
Communicative.
Yeah.
Communicative.
Do you think that that friendship started to be born in those early moments? Like the first time you laid eyes on her, you said you thought she was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
What was that like when you first met her?
When I first met her,
Yeah.
I didn't expect for her. Did you have red hair when I first
Probably.
met you? Yeah. Wow. And then, after I finished talking to her, I looked her up. on Montlake. And, I saw, but I didn't expect what I saw her in person. Beautiful, smart. I'm like, wow. She actually kind of inspired me. I thought about just, pursuing law for a second. And then life started happening. So, yeah.
So you kind of put a pin in that for now.
Mm-hmm,
yeah.
For right now. I'm going to get back out there.
And did you notice that is it on your bio that you're a dancer? Did you know then you guys had dancing in common?
No, I didn't know that until just now. I didn't.
So, Michelle, talk to me about that process and building that relationship with Javonda.
Yeah, so when you call into Montlake, one of the first things is you're going to speak with an attorney. And at that point, I was able to speak with her mom and kind of form that relationship. As she said, her mom had reached out to other attorneys, and she had let me know that in the beginning. So I continued to reach out and kind of form that relationship with her parents. And then at that point, being able to communicate with the client and form, as you said, a communicative process with the client. The good thing I like about how our firm operates is, you not only hear from myself, but you also hear from the assistants throughout the process. I always tell my clients, the main thing is I want you to focus on your treatment, getting back to where you need to be, and letting us handle everything behind the scenes. So I feel like being able to communicate, with everyone throughout the process is just beneficial to everyone.
And look at you two today. The case is closed, but the friendship is boundless to infinity. Exchanging Christmas cards, Facebook friends, the whole 9 yards. This is the real deal. We are talking to Michelle Mumpower and Javonda, her client, on Lawyers in the House with Montlake. Coming up, how we put this case together. Stay with us. All right, welcome back to Lawyers in the House with Montlake. I'm your host, Veronica Waters. Today, talking to you about the personal side of personal injury law. We've had some really cute nuggets that you might have missed in the first half if you're just joining in, but don't worry, we've got it all for you. Make sure that you like and subscribe to us on your favorite podcasts. You can hear all of the moments that you missed or just replay some of the sweet ones one more time since they were so doggone good. Follow us on every social media platform at Montlake Law. And remember, you can go to lawyersinthehouse.com to see or listen to every single episode and send us a question there 24/7 or drop us an email. We are at lawyersinthehouse@montlake.com, and we can't wait to hear from you. Join the conversation. Let us know what you think, and let us know what your questions are. My questions today are for Javonda and for Michelle Mumpower, Montlake injury attorney, who was Javonda's attorney after her accident several years ago when she became the unwitting victim of what turned out to be a high-speed chase in the area of Memorial Drive near Atlanta. Drunk driver stole a car, sped away. Next thing you know, Javonda finds herself waking up in the hospital. And Michelle, you have told us this was not your everyday sort of run-of-the-mill hit-and-run case. What goes into putting this case together? And first of all, tell me a little bit about what made it so complex to begin with.
Well, we didn't have a lot of information when we initially got the call from her mom. All we had know is that Javonda was unfortunately in the hospital with significant injuries and had been injected through a windshield. That's all we knew. Getting the accident report is the first thing that we do. Then once that is, reviewed by myself and every attorney at the firm for their cases, we go through that and then request what is called an open record request. That includes 911 calls, witness statements, any follow-up and incident reports that were done. And throughout that process in Javonda's case, I had discovered that the individual that his vehicle was stolen and actually started the high-speed chase was cited for creating a hazardous condition. So because of that, we were not only able to pursue the actual individual that stole the vehicle, but the individual that vehicle was stolen because of the citation that he was given. And that is not something that if we had just looked at the accident report, we would have gotten. It was actually a separate incident report we received. I believe it was about 6 to 7 months after we received the initial open record request.
Why was that so down the line?
It was a criminal investigation that was being done. And a lot of times, people believe that we can get this information off the bat, but unfortunately, until a citation has been taken care of, and most of the time, it's either they have a trial or the individual that is cited takes a plea. And in this case, he did plead guilty. That information is not disclosed until the criminal matter has been resolved.
Wow. And I was going to ask how detailed the accident report was in the beginning.
Not very.
Not very.
It actually didn't even mention the individual whose vehicle was stolen being involved, because his vehicle wasn't part of the impact to Javonda's car, but it was, in my opinion, another individual to pursue in this case. So that vehicle was not even listed on the accident report. It was actually that individual's wife that was listed as the owner of the vehicle. So had we have not received that information and done our own investigation, we wouldn't have known about this other individual.
Is it a little too inside baseball for me to ask what's the hazardous condition creation? What is that? I don't understand that.
So the way this citation was described under the Georgia Code was for his actions to kind of put others in danger. So he created a condition that was hazardous to the general public. And in this case, the distance going out and driving the route several times from his house to the point of impact was about 7-8 miles. So he engaged in this high-speed chase, chasing someone who had stolen his vehicle for about 7-8 miles. And we also actually found out through an investigation into him, this is not the first time he was criminally charged with this.
What?
Yeah, he has a record, unfortunately, and this was something that, again, came up in our investigation and we were able to use that to get Javonda the results that she was able to receive.
Is this sort of like a bad faith thing or punitive damages thing?
It was. So it was a little bit of both. So I had, like I said, didn't know about this individual, never intended to send what we call a demand, which is a document that is sent to the outfall party's insurance company to negotiate and hopefully in the end result settle the claim. And I didn't know about this individual, didn't know about this policy, had no whereabouts. So once I received this citation, I then sent a demand to his insurance company. Well, they never responded, just didn't respond. And it was a minimum limits policy. Javonda's medical bills far exceeded what any policy, that we had available was. And by them not timely responding put them in a position of committing, as you said, bad faith. So we were able to successfully settle her claim for well above the limits.
Javonda, how much of this did you know was going on while you were home recuperating?
While I was at home recuperating, nothing. I didn't know what was going on. I think my mom was mostly in touch during that time.
So what was going through your heart and your mind and your body? What was going on with your body at that time?
At that time, I didn't know myself.
Wow.
I went through a very unsure time. Not sure if I was going to be able to walk again or how everything was going to go, and not being able to take care of myself or my children how I normally do. That time was... it was scary. I kind of, really got down on myself. Like, why me? Why did this have to happen to me? And, I've always preached about being a good person and doing right by people. And I just wondered, like, why? Why did this have to happen to me? Especially at a time like, I had fought so hard to get the position that I had at my job. And my son had just turned 2, and at that time I wasn't married. It was just me, so it was hard. It was.
But for your mom and your grandmom and the young babies you had at home, it maybe felt a little like you were alone dealing with this.
Well, I knew I wasn't alone. I never was alone because my mom and my grandma and my son's father, and we wasn't probably on the best terms at that time, but everybody, even people from my job, everybody comfort me. But, when you're going through it, nobody really knows your pain unless they've been through it.
And the pain was not just physical.
No, it wasn't just physical.
Yeah. And an amazing recovery that you've made. What would you say was maybe your turning point when you sort of knew things were going to be okay?
Funny thing is once I got off that, I had a walker, like a old school walker. Once I was
with
able
the tennis balls on the
yeah, basically, like really. Like once I got off the crutches, they gave me a walker. And then from there, I couldn't wash my hair for months because I had the neck brace on. So I was really losing my mind. I couldn't wash my neck. It was just, it was really tough. But once they took that off and I was able to go back to work, I started feeling more so like myself. I felt like, I knew, it was going to be okay. As long as I could walk, I had the boot on, after the walker, you get the boot. I knew I was going to be okay.
Months, you said.
Months.
It was months before you knew how well you would feel.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. And today, the only sign of it is when the weather is bad that your screws scream at you.
I actually have one little funny story. So my sister got us tickets to a concert, and I decided I was going to dress up. I didn't put my shoes on until, we got there, and I had on heels. Mind you, I get out the car, and I start walking, and then I realize, I'm like, Javonda, you broke your ankle. And when I say my sisters had to walk me to the concert, I had to hold on to them and walk to the concert because I had forgot. And those were the only shoes I had other than some slides,
Yeah, we can't go to the concert in slides.
Yes.
No, ma'am.
I was dressed from head to toe, but I could not really walk that well. And it just dawned on me once I got out the car to go to the concert. I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys, I forgot.
What was I thinking?
Yes.
Listen, Javonda, I see women all of the time who are probably having that same conversation and who never had an ankle injury. I've seen women who are having that same nighttime struggle. Like, why did I put these shoes on?
I'm a strutter. Like, before this, heels were my best friend. Like, I was on it.
And you're a dancer, so you probably move so gracefully through the world.
Exactly. So it was hard to believe that I was, like under the, how people are under the influence and walking after the club. That's how I felt.
But you were completely sober.
Yeah. I was completely sober and in pain.
How did it affect your day-to-day life?
Day-to-day life, in the beginning, all I could do is sit on the couch and watch Netflix, and my mom come and take my kids to school.
Netflix and heal.
Yep, Netflix and heal. And I couldn't go to work. I just, at that point, that's all I really knew was to work, take my kids to school, work, take my kids to school. So I was begging my doctor. I'm like, when? He was like, got to give it a few more weeks. I'm like, go back again? He's like, you got to give it a few more weeks. I'm like, man, come on. Come on.
You mentioned to me that you didn't think that you would have come out on the other side in the joyous way that you did if it weren't for Michelle.
That's so true.
Yeah.
That's so true. Especially on that end. That was my first accident ever. Like, I've never been in any type of car accident or never hurt myself. The only thing I never broke a bone. So when that happened, I was more so worried about myself, not so much worried about the legal part. And good thing I did have Michelle because I didn't have to. I really didn't. I didn't have to worry about the legal part. She always kept me in line, let me know what was going on, and I just followed her lead. Every time she asked me a question, whatever you thought, I know you have my best interests, so I'm going to go with what you tell me.
Have you seen other people who didn't have such a great experience?
Yes, personally. My hard-headed husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, he was hit by a truck, and he went with someone his family member had told him, and turned out awful. Never really heard from them. Had to keep calling. Kept getting front desk. He had to end up paying. He had to end up coming out of pocket.
Wow. The difference that having the right advocate on your side can make when you are the victim of a personal injury case. And survivor Javonda is telling us all about it. Coming up, the Motley closing argument with Motley injury attorney Michelle Mumpower. I'm your host, Veronica Waters. Stay with us. Welcome back to Lawyers in the House with Montlake. I'm your host, Veronica Waters, here with two very special guests, Javonda and her Montlake injury attorney, Michelle Mumpower, talking about the personal side of personal injury law and coming out of it on the other side, healed and happy. The closing argument is here. You've been waiting for it all hour long. So, Michelle, take it away.
What I want to let people know is that when you call Montlake at 1-800-LAW-KNEE, you're not just getting a person on the phone. You're actually going to speak with one of our attorneys. And in this case, I spoke with Javonda's mom. It's always a good thing in the beginning to establish that communication with your clients, because at the end of the day, being able to communicate with them and getting to know your clients on a personal level really allows the attorneys, I feel, to more zealously advocate for our clients. The one thing that I like about the way our firm operates is you're not only going to speak with me throughout the process, but you're also going to speak with my assistants. I always tell my clients when we end the call, the main thing I want you to focus on is your treatment, your health, getting back to where you need to be. I don't want you to talk to anybody except individuals from my office. We will handle everything behind the scenes.
And this is why Javonda was getting bombarded with emails and texts and calls and stuff, sort of keeping her updated.
Yes.
Yeah. Why, just quickly, if you can, in a few words, why is that relationship so crucial to how the case comes out? Because really, Javonda is, her part in it is just the testimony of what happened or what she does or doesn't remember and how she's feeling and what her treatments are like. Why is the relationship so integral to this?
It allows me, like I said, to better to get to know my clients and have that relationship. The one thing I tell my clients is I'm going to treat you like family. I'm going to tell you things you need to hear, tell you things, you don't want to hear, things I want you to hear type situation. And just having that personal relationship and really getting to know a client on a personal level allows me to better explain, the pain and suffering and really understand what they're going through and going, okay, this is what they're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. This is how they're feeling about the case. Now I know what I need to do.
And tell me, Javonda, what it was like with Michelle as your advocate. How important was it having her on your side, getting through this?
It was very important. Having her there to guide me through it made the process much smoother, not having to worry about how everything was going. We even got close to the point where she gave me her actual phone number. She's like, I know you're not going to bother me. And I really did. I felt special because I really wasn't going to bother her, but I did. I felt special that, that we had made a bond that close.
And I think it's very telling that you told me that you have actually referred several people to her since this happened.
Yes, I have. My mother and also a couple friends. I've sent them to her. Anybody who asks me about legal advice, Miss Mumpower.
Miss Mumpower at Montlake, the way to go. What a testament. Mm-hmm. And she's the one that Javonda called a pit bull in pumps. This is the one right here. This is the relationship. You've heard Michelle tearing up about it. This has been Lawyers in the House with Montlake. Thank you so much for being in the house. Michelle Mumpower, Montlake injury attorney, and her client, Javonda. I'm Veronica Waters. We will see you next time.